This is Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. The lion has roared, who will not fear? The Lord Yahweh has spoken, who can but prophesy? I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, call Elohim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Wachakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwat that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shabab Amawan back at you with another lesson. And going into that title, all right. Mark Walberg, world coming faster than you think. Okay. And, in the midst of all these, Epstein files, all these camp wars right now, we have to remember to keep our eyes on the mission, right? And the mission is to constantly bring out prophecy, going into Jacob's trouble, going into, this RFID, right? And mainly and also going into World War III, right? But the main one of all is preparing our people for what's to come with this this RFID, this Rice Krispie treat, okay? So we have to be constantly in the spirit of prophecy, okay? Because that's what the Lord is, all right? Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy, just like it tells you in Revelations 19:10. It says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren to have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. Okay, so we have to remember that that's the spirit that we're constantly supposed to be in. All right, the spirit of prophecy. All right, and to prophesy is to basically tell you, before it happens. Okay, telling you of prophetic events. Okay, that are written in the scriptures and breaking them down in the correct manner. Okay, to tell you and prepare you for what's to come. All right, so then when these things come to pass, you will know that there was a prophet among you, you see. And, the real men of the Lord are constantly prophesying of these things, man. All right, preparing you for the battle. All right, so let me play a couple of videos. All right, and then I get some scriptures. All right, this is got a couple of them. I don't know if I'm going to play them all, but I got a couple new ones. All right, let's grab this one first.
BlackRock warning, listen up. Which is the biggest question from central banks is, what is the role of tokenization and digitization? How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar?
Hold on real quick. Let me put the brightness up.
If every currency digitizes and we have what does that mean for bank payments? What does that mean for the payment companies like MasterCard and Visa? All these are being questioned right now. I think we spend so much time talking about AI. We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving ETFs and other things through a digital wallet.
And what's crazy is that, see, right now they're attacking you from all types of aspects of life, to the point where, there's so much going on that people could become overwhelmed, you see, and by becoming overwhelmed, they lose track and sight of the things that's really being implemented upon us under our noses, man. All right, because at the end of the day, all these different distractions, they're all going to lead to one thing. It's going to lead to this micro C-hip, okay? And this is why it's going to be a snare that's going to come upon the whole world, quietly, all right? When you lay a snare, when you lay a trap, okay, people don't see it coming, you see? And that's what their job is. As a matter of fact,
I think that's going to happen.
Grab this. This is Habakkuk 1:15. This is Habakkuk 1:15, and it says, They take up all them with an angle. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. All right. So these devils, these elites are like fishermen right now, man. They all, pretty much casting out their fishing lines. Okay. And on their angles, on their angle, all right, there's nothing but what? There's bait. Okay. This is why they have these different types of baits. Okay. To basically, distract you from what's the main bait that they're going to use. Okay. Right now, they're just drawing the fish in. When you use certain baits, even in real fishing, you're able to, gather fish around your circle with certain baits to attract them. All right. Until you throw that main bait that you want to use that they're going to eat for sure. You see, and then you draw them in like that into the net. Okay. As a matter of fact, it's another precept I'm thinking of. I believe it's in Psalms. Let me see, Psalms. Yeah, this is Psalms 10 and 9. It says, "He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor when he draw him into his net. You see, he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones." And see, that's why he pretty much, changes himself to crouch himself and humble himself, because that's how he's going to draw you in, with smooth words, with trying to help you. Okay. Making you think that he's here for you at the end of the day. But deep down, he's trying to just catch you into that net because he has the patience for it, man. He's a cunning hunter. All right. Esau goes back to being the most subtle beast of the field. Okay. Let's grab that. This is I know it's in Exodus. Matter of fact, it's not coming up that way. The most subtle beast of the field, KJV. Okay, there you go. It's the third. So it says, I really want it from Genesis 3 and 1. All right. And that word subtle, okay, says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh had made." Okay. When you go into that word subtle, okay, it goes into crafty. You see, he was very sly. All right, sensible. All right. When you go into those words, all right, let's go into this word sensible. Okay. This word sensible goes into chosen in accordance with wisdom and prudence, likely to be of benefit. Okay. So also it says practical and functional rather than decorative. Okay. Now, when you go into those words, the similar words, all right, going into logical, okay, rational, okay, it says circumspect, balanced, all right. So he was very slick, all right, with his thinking. And when you go, that's why the Lord said, be circumspect and redeeming the times, because the days are evil, man. So we have to constantly watch for the serpent that's crawling, in the grass, basically slithering in the grass. Okay. Even though you can cut the grass, man, to see if the snake comes, all right, he's still going to try to find another way. You see, he's going to always try to find a way. If he can't get you from one angle, he tries to get you from another angle. That's what snakes do. You see, that's why they slither and they constantly watch their prey to find weakness in him. And once they find that weakness, okay, that's when he attacks. Okay, it says, what else we have here? sharp, intelligent, clever. Okay. So let's just go back. All right. To the Strong's definition. It says, let me just go into sly. All right. It says having or showing a cunning or deceitful nature. Okay. And in order for you to be deceitful, all right, you have to have smarts. You see, that's why the Lord said that thou art wiser than Daniel. Okay. Now he ain't gonna be wiser than YAHAWAH'S because YAHAWAH'S created him. But see, the Lord has given this devil some type of intelligence, even though he is, children of fools, children of base men. All right, that just goes to show you that the Lord can raise something that's so base, something that's so, the scum of the earth to be, in power. You see, the same way he got us all the way at the bottom, he's gonna lift us up out of the dunghill. You see, to be, those princes of power. All right. So that's just the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay. It says having or showing a cunning or deceitful nature. Okay. A remark, glance, or facial expression showing an insinuating way that one has some secret knowledge that may be harmful or embarrassing. Okay. And that's what this devil's about. All right. He's very harmful. All right. This is why he told Eve and Adam not to eat of that tree, of that fruit, the philosophies that this devil had, because it was harmful to them. Okay. And at the end of the day, it was embarrassing. And this devil's embarrassing. As the Lord said, he is the most, lest there be any fornicator or profound person, right? As Esau. Okay. Nobody is like Esau at the end of the day, man. All right. It says, sir, how you say this word? Let me get this word real quick.
Surreptitious.
Surreptitious. Okay. Kept secret, especially because it would not be approved of. Woo, you see? So, the Lord already said that he would not be approved. You see? He was not going to be one to be a righteous man. He was not one that was going to be able to come back into repentance. You see, the Lord had made him to be the vessel of dishonor. You see, so he had to keep him in a secret manner. Okay, at that time when he was in the garden, man. You see, being that serpent. All right, it was a secret onto us, and that's why we fell for that secret, because it was a lesson to be learned eventually. You see, it says stealthy. Okay. Secretive, concealed, under the table, cloak and dagger. All right. And that's pretty much the point. All right. So now we can just get back to it. All right. At the end of the day, all right, we have to constantly watch for this devil. All right. With all these different, psyops, all these different type of distractions he's got going. Like I said earlier, to all this shit going on with these Epstein files. Okay, don't get sidetracked from what's really going on. All right, because at the end of the day, they're not gonna leak all that shit out. All right, and if they do, hey, that's the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Their own tongue falling upon them. All right, but I can't see everything being leaked out because there's so much wickedness that them devils have done behind closed doors. You probably wouldn't even be able to handle half of the shit that comes out. But again, some of it is going to be leaked out through the spirit, because there's nothing that's secretive that's not going to be brought to the light, as the scriptures tell you. Okay, which I believe that's in. Let's grab that real quick. And 8:17 and Luke. All right. This is Luke 8 and this is 17. Yeah. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Okay. So again, everything, a lot of things are going to be brought to the light, but see, you don't have to bring out everything, because if you bring out certain things, you could paint the picture for the rest of it. The rest is history, So, a little bit is going to end up coming out to the light, but these devils ain't gonna reveal everything, man, because you wouldn't be able to handle it, man. All right. And at the end of the day, you know, everything that is coming to the light, it just shows you what they want for this new world order. You see, it's really how can I say, it's there and it's being brought to the light to actually mess with people's minds, you know, because once you throw that vibration out there, all right, these people will, you know, either look at it like, ew, that shit is nasty as hell, or somebody will grow a brain on it, you know. And because these people are already under strong delusion, most of these people will end up, you know, growing brains to it and, you know, thinking that this shit is normal, man, when it's not. And this is why this devil has to be taken out of the way. Okay, so let me get back to that video.
BlackRock, a digital wallet, and moving, you know, ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill prepared for that and underappreciate how technology is changing that. Not unlike how technology is changing AI and other things. It will be changing the technology around the plumbing of finance.
Larry Fink just warned everyone that the great wealth transfer is here. Digital currency is going to replace fiat currencies.
And we've been known that. We've been telling you this, you know, that eventually that dollar was going to collapse and that all roads lead to that RFID. Okay. So it ain't no new news. Okay. And, you know, this has always been their desire. Okay. That's why the scriptures tell you that the wicked boasted of his heart's desires. You know, he's always done that. All right. And by the means of those miracles, me going into these different technologies, they were taking on the image of the beast. You see, these are things that they've always spoken of. But, you know, it wasn't time for us to get into those into this type of technology yet. OK, because we didn't have this technology like in the ancient world. All right. Now, there's no new thing under the sun. All right. There was different ways that they approached it in those times. All right. But again, back in the ancient world, we didn't have the technology we have now because knowledge is being increased every single day. OK, and we're at the end where knowledge is increased on a very high level, both on the left hand side and both on the right hand side. OK.
A 21st century upgrade to our financial system. Now the question is, what are you doing about it? Make sure to share this information with as many people as possible because...
All right. And what you should be doing about it is calling on the names of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to spare you from the wickedness that's going to be put upon this earth. OK. Matter of fact, I'll grab that real quick. This is Psalms. I believe it's I want to say 17 and 13. This is Psalm 17 and 13. Yep. It says, arise, O Lord Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. You see, so showing you that the Lord uses him as that sword, man. Okay, because he is the blessing. One of his blessings was the sword. So his blessing of the sword is to kill, you know, bring violence, destroy peace. Okay, so the Lord uses him as that whooping stick when he has to bring, you know, certain agendas, when he has to, you know, pretty much teach Jake a lesson. Okay, so, you know, King David is asking him right here, all right, to it, which is a prayer, basically to preserve him. Okay, and to cast this devil down, to deliver his soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Okay, and he said, disappoint him. All right, and he is going to disappoint him, according to Job. All right, let's grab that. 5 and 12, and it says he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. Okay, now, matter of fact, let me keep reading that. It says they meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in noonday as in the night. That's what these deletes do. All right, because like it tells you in Micah, all right, 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it's in the power of their hand. You see, so the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right, it's in their power to be able to do these things. On top of that, these devils are straight what? Devil worshippers, man. You know, so You know, they do a lot of witchcraft and sorceries to get their power, you know, going back to spiritual counter Satan. All right. So let's go back. All right. Job 5:14. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. But he saveth the poor from the sword. You see, same prayer that King David was throwing up. All right. To preserve him from the sword, from their mouth and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor has hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. You see? So when that guy said, what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be praying to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, that he have mercy upon us, man. That he shows us a large amount, all right, of kasad, because we're going to need it. All right, we're not going to be able to make it out here without Yahweh Shai, man. All right, if this devil is meant to have the blessing of the sword and the fatness of the earth, there's no way we're going to be able to beat this devil, man. You see, because he's very witty. He's very witty with all his devices, you know, very slick. And let's grab that. As a matter of fact, this is, I believe it's Proverbs 8 and 12. I wisdom, all right, let's take it from 11. It says, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. You see, because, you know, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Okay. It says, I wisdom dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. You see, so by having this knowledge and wisdom, you're stable enough to realize when this devil's coming with his witty inventions. Let's go into that word witty. All right, which goes into
Strong's H4209. Mezima.
All right.
Mezima.
Mazamawa. Right. It says purpose, discretion, device, plot. Okay. Devices, evil. You know, and what's the scripture say, man? That we are not ignorant to Satan's devices. All right. You don't want to be ignorant at all. Let me grab that real quick. That's 1 Corinthians 2 and 11. All right. Salaki, actually 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. And it says, lest Satan should get an advantage. You see? So if you don't have the knowledge of the Lord, man, Satan will get an advantage over you. You see, he'll outsmart you without this wisdom. Okay. It says, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Let's go into that word ignorant. All right. Which goes into agnio. Right. And it says to be ignorant, not to know. Okay. Not to understand. See, you understand these things with wisdom. That's why wisdom and knowledge is the stability of thy times, man. You'll be able to understand it and figure it out through the spirit. Okay. It says to err or sin through mistake. Whoo, you see, because the scriptures tell you in Ecclesiasticus. All right. Let's grab that 27th chapter. Give me 1 second. Ecclesiasticus 27. It says many have sinned for a small matter. Okay. It says many have sinned for a small matter. And he that seeketh for abundance will turn his eyes away. See, and that's what they're going to eventually do. They're going to sin for the smallest matter. All right. And that's spiritual because it's so small as a grain of rice. All right. But also, you know, for the dumbest reasons, you see, just because they want the abundance of things, man. They want to go back to the having abundance of the world, you know, and they're going to end up turning their eyes away. You see. Because they much rather have pleasures of sin for a season than to suffer with the children of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay. And that's exactly what those are. Pleasures of sin for a season, because eventually the Lord going to destroy this place anyway. So it's all for a season. It's all for nothing. You know, it's all for the moment, you know, but once you have your pleasure and your sin, right? When you're done with it, you're going to go back to reality anyway. The reality and the fact of the matter is that this thing is still going to play out according to prophecy. You see, it says, as a nail sticketh fast between the joinings of the stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling. Okay. So, you know, it's pretty much a double whammy there, man. You see, they're going to end up sticking themselves, all right, which that's already going off because you're not supposed to cut into the flesh, all right? The Lord commanded that. And here it is, you putting it in there is showing the token of appreciation to their gods. You see, showing that you believe in them rather than Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So that's two sins in one, knocking two birds with one stone, you know? And there's a whole bunch of other sins that come with it, man. You see? Shalom, sister Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. All right. So going back into the word, all right, ignorant, you know, not to understand, unknown, all right. And you don't want to be one that's walking around unknown here, not knowing what's going on, because he that what's the scripture say? He that how is it? Let me just grab it. Got it on the tip of my tongue and I don't want to come out. But you're gonna remain in the congregation of the dead, going into Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth, that's what it was. The man that wandereth. Yeah, for you to wander out of the way. All right, let's go into that word wandereth. All right. It's for you to be, you know, headless, man. Okay. It says to err, go astray, stagger. You see, to wander about, you know, physically. Okay. Of intoxication. Yeah. You are intoxicated by the wines and the philosophy that this devil has to offer you. You see, you're not supposed to be drunk and staggering, okay, among this damn, among this devil's philosophy. Drinking too much wine. Wine represents philosophies, man. So drinking that too much wine, all right, is gonna have you blinded, you know, to the point where you can't see the light, and you're gonna stagger into this devil's ways. You see, it says wandering of the mind, okay, to be made wander about, be made to stagger, drunkard. You're drunk with the philosophies, right? To be led astray, okay, to cause to err, mislead mentally and morally. Whoo, you see, that's what's going to end up happening. Mentally, you're going to be misled. Okay, you're gonna catch a whole bunch of demons and you're gonna find this damn philosophy and you're gonna believe in it. And then morally, all right, to the eyes of the Lord, you're gonna go way off. You see, you're gonna do things that's gonna lead you to your death. Okay, being seduced and basically being deceived. All right, when you go into that Strong's definition, it goes into it says vacillate. Let me see what that word means. Vacillate, maybe that's what it is.
Vacillate.
Yeah, vacillate. It says alternate or waver between different opinions or actions, being indecisive. That's woman. That's women intentions right there, man. Women do shit like that. All right, women is always indecisive. They don't know what they want. That's what you're gonna be walking around as. You're gonna be walking like a woman out here, man. All right, wandering and being very indecisive, okay, and that's spiritual, because that's why you're gonna basically become Esau's bitch, because you're walking around out here like a woman, man, indecisive as hell, you know. So the Lord gonna put you in the hands of Esau, and you're gonna become Esau's bitch to the point where you're gonna end up taking that RFID. You see, let's go back. All right, it says deceive, dissemble. Yeah, that's pretty much the point. That was the last of it in the Strong's definition. All right, so let's go back to Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. All right, let's see what that word dead goes into. All right, Rapa'ima, right? It says ghost of dead, shades, spirits. Okay. Going into the root words, it says hurts of nations involving restored favor, individual distress, of water, pottery, Yeah, it didn't really give me much in there. Let me see what's the other root word, because it's a compound word. To sink down, be disheartened. All right. Eventually, yeah, you know, having lack of faith, man. You're gonna end up sinking down for the lack of faith, disheartened. You know, we know that heart goes into the mind, the la'ab. Okay. So, you know, you're not gonna have your right mindset. Okay. Uh, show oneself slack. Okay. Because you didn't have the word of the Lord, man. You became slack of knowledge. All right. And when you're slack, you pretty much, you ever see somebody that's just slack laying on the couch, you tell them something and they're just like, yeah, whatever. You know, that's the mindset that they're going to have when it comes to this RFID being made mandatory. Yeah, fuck it, whatever, man. I'll take that shit. You know, Esau ain't even gonna have you begging for it, man. You're just gonna end up just willingly taking it. Like, yeah, it is what it is, man. All right, faint, feeble, yeah, very feeble minded. Remember, the scriptures say, Satan seeking about who he may devour. You know, and those that he devours is because they're feeble minded, man. Okay, they're weak links. The Lord not looking for no weak links, man. The Lord is looking for men that are strong, man, that are going to stand up against the workers of iniquity, that are going to, you know, stand up against the evildoers, man. You're idle. Whoo, see that you become idle. All right. And what's the scriptures tell you about idleness, man? With much idleness comes sin. For with much idleness comes sin, KJV. That's roughly paraphrasing it. All right. Where's it at? Hold on. Much idleness. It's in the Apocrypha. Give me 1 second. It'll come up. There you go. This is Ecclesiastes 33:27. And it says, send him to labor. See, that's why you should be laboring in his word, man, because that's what's going to keep you away from all these distractions. This is what's going to keep you, it's going to pretty much get you saved. Because the Lord said, occupy till I come. You're supposed to be occupied in his word. You see, it says, send him to labor that he be not idle. For idleness teaches much wicked, much evil. You see? So when you're idle, you give Satan a chance to come and mess with your mindset, man. Come in and mess with your brain. All right. And eventually he's just going to teach you some sins. He's going to teach you wickedness because you're not constantly dwelling with wisdom and righteousness. You know, to dwell with wisdom and constantly be occupied with the wisdom of YAHAWAH'S is going to continually have you growing in this truth with righteousness. You know, the point is to be so girded up that when wickedness does come, it just bounces right off of you. Like if you Neo and you shooting bullets at Neo and them bullets is just flying off of him, man. You see, that's the point of you constantly meditating in the word so you can be successful and prosperous, as it tells you in Joshua 1:8, that this word shall not depart from thy mouth, because then you will make your way prosperous, successful. Okay, so whenever that's what it goes into in Matthew the 7th chapter also, you know, going into the two foundations, the rock solid foundation and the foundation that's built out of sand. You know, when the winds blew, the rain descended, you know, all the different types of storms come to hit you, which is a representation of the things of the world, you know, the wind, the destruction, the flood. All right, when all that comes to you, you're going to still be standing. Why? Because you're rooted and grounded in this truth. You see, because the knowledge and wisdom has you stabilized, being the stability of thy times. So you are built upon a rock solid foundation. But if you're not, all right, your house is built upon the sand, and eventually that sand, that house will fall, and great is the fall of it. Okay. So let's go grab a couple more videos. All right, that was one video. Let's see this one right here. Hold on, what it said was, it said 6G is not about faster internet, and it won't connect devices, it will connect to you. You know, we've been saying this for a while, man. All right, that these devils, that's why all that yo jabba jabba in 2020, you know, all this digital ID right now, that, you know, going into the biometrics is all in cahoots to be able to connect you to the system quicker, you know, at the end of the day. Yeah, and they want you to keep thinking that we have till 2030. You know, we ain't got to 2030. Okay. It said it already rewired 250 people, 53 people, or so like 43 people in Virginia. No device, no consent, just sync. Okay. And it's very, and the way, and they showed you that with in 2020, when a lot of people were, you know, dying, actually more in like 2021, 2022, because a lot of people that ended up taking that yo jabba jabba, eventually they started having problems later. And what were they doing, man? They were going to people's graves and they were able to connect them to YouTube, to Bluetooths, man. You see, showing you that that's what that was the whole point of it. You know, even though those people ended up dying, they died because their bodies couldn't handle it. You know, that's why you're not supposed to put shit like that in your body. Okay. But remember, Jake is strong. All right. We're stronger than all these other nations. So, you know, a lot of us ain't going to die off of it just that easy. The Lord has created us to be strong and stronger than these other nations. So we actually, you know, live with things like that. We used to living with a whole bunch of, you know, filth in our bodies. You know, we eat defiled bread amongst the Gentiles on a daily basis. And look, they be trying to poison us all day long and they can't. You know, the Lord keeps us alive. All right.
Testing began years ago in controlled zones across Virginia, Osaka, and EU smart grids. And here's what they won't tell you. 6G doesn't connect your phone. It connects you. In 2023, DARPA and ATIS ran a closed pilot across federal buildings.
And that goes to show you that we ourselves are a Wi-Fi. You know, I did a lesson on that about 2.5 weeks ago, you know, explaining, you know, even going into the chat, GPT, asking certain questions, and it brought out a lot of good information, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's why they want to get rid of these computers. They want to get rid of anything like that and make you the computer, all right, and be able to tap into your thoughts. Because what is a computer anyway? It's basically information that comes from us anyway, and it's just put into one grid, one machine, you know, one database to be able to, you know, give you back the information that we know already, you know, just from different people's minds. Okay, that's why you could go to the chat GPT and ask it a question and they'll give you the fucking answer to it. You know, that's why you could go to YouTube. You don't need nobody to teach you anything anymore. You could just go right on the internet and learn these things. You know, before there was computers, man, we had to, you know, go to someone to learn something. You know, you had to see if a person has some type of knowledge. Okay, and before the internet, you had nothing but books, encyclopedias, you know, information that you have to recite to prove your answer. That's all that is nowadays, man. It's just a lazier way for you to do the work. I don't gotta go to the library today and learn. You know, I could just learn it right on Instagram. I could learn it right on YouTube. Why you think they came and gave your children all these tablets and phones, man?
In Virginia, the tech, 6G presence nodes, powered by terahertz bands that don't just transfer data, they mirror you. Each user's gait, tone, even heart rhythm became part of the signal loop. The system adjusted light, sound, even pushed notifications based on real-time biometric drift. It's called adaptive ambient sync.
Hey, sister, can I just get a thumbs up if you could hear it? Because I don't know if it's too low.
In the Arlington test zone, over 200 participants unknowingly entered what the internal logs labeled a behavioral sync cluster. Result? 68% changed walking pace within 90 seconds. 52% began mirroring posture. Average voice pitch dropped 12 hertz across the zone without prompt or audio cue. This isn't cellular, it's presence modulation. Backed by Samsung's 6G white paper, verified in HexaX test beds, and buried in Appendix 9 of the Defense Communications Futures Report, black-barred until last quarter. You were never the user. You were the interface. Want out? Disrupt the loop, delay touch input, break rhythm, avoid high-band hotspots during emotional peaks. Because with 6G, you're not browsing, you're being tuned. Tuesday accessed the relay logs. They weren't encrypted because they assumed no one would read drift code but them. Now you have.
Hopefully you heard it, because I know certain videos, they're low, so I believe you was able to hear it though. All right, so that's another video. Let's grab this one.
I just told you in a very nice way. Now let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby,
so this is coming in 2026.
All
right, it says digital IDs and newborn babies. All right, and this is very well, something why, I believe that the Lord, what I went through with my son, passing and all that, because the times that we're entering into, man, you see, because all these babies in 2026, they're gonna be putting, digital IDs on them. There's a lot of them gonna end up getting, C-hipped, without us knowing, in the back rooms. Remember, they take your children, they try to take your children away from you at certain points, when you're pretty much, drained and tired, man, and you're sleeping. These devils are able to do things like that, man. Okay.
You no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body.
See, this is what's coming in 2026, man. All right. Implanted in someone's body. Okay. Go over there. And that's because you're licking the floor. Go over there. Go drink your water, son. Right?
Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December, we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise, as an ID, that they should be able to be identified digitally using their iris or their fingerprints, and we can transact without the necessity of people struggling to identify who they are.
And this is literally, he just said in December. They trying to do this in December, man. They're not even trying to proceed in 2026 with it. See, this is why 2026 is about to be wild as hell, man. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, well, y'all just been saying that every year and every year. But see, if you really realize, we have to prepare you in that manner, in that fashion, man. Because any of these things can happen at any given time, man. Remember, we on YAHAWAH'S speed, man. So from one day to another, the Lord could just snap his finger and give these damn devils the thought to do whatever they want to do. That's why they have names like Operation Warp Speed and things like that. Remember, these devils have been planning years ago. The technology that comes out now that we think is new, and we're like, wow, they had that shit for fucking 50 plus years already, man. It's just about when they let it go, how they let it go. And honestly, it's of YAHAWAH'S. You see? Man's goings is of the Lord, so how can a man understand his own way? The Lord is what directs their steps. So when the Lord is ready, okay, he unleashes, he allows them to unleash these things. Okay, so now they're trying to shoot it for 2026 in certain places, certain countries. Okay, and I believe this is in, I believe he was saying Kenya. All right, so this is in Africa. Okay. So, you know, we know that these things happen internationally first, and that the Lord is saving Babylon the Great for last. All right. Hey, the water sister. All right. So, you know, he's saving the best for last. America, Babylon the Great, because Babylon the Great is going to catch the worst judgment out of all these nations. You see, but it's there already. It's already been here. There's no way around it no more. Okay. There is no, it's a conspiracy. You niggas is, you know, a bunch of tinfoil hat niggas. Nah, man. We be that at the end of the day. But see, we'll be the smart ones when the time comes that we're going to be calling on the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai without a worry in the world, because we knew these things would happen, man. You see?
The proudest part of it is that we don't have to spend the billions that we have spent on all the other manenos, as all of you know.
Yeah, they don't have to spend the billions anymore, because it's already been made. They've been taking billions and billions of dollars from the people all these years just to create. They see you people be swearing that their tax money goes to these fucking streets, you know, to them helping their communities. You know, none of that shit goes to them, man. They take away all these taxes and they make you pay all these things so you can pay for their agendas. You know how many times people be like, oh, well, I paid my tax, you know, for you guys to build these roads. But when you go outside and you drive on that road, that shit look like shit, and it's been looking for like shit for the past 10 years, man. And then all of a sudden they'll just send a damn truck to patch that regular cement, asphalt, whatever you want to call it. You know, so none of that shit is you remember, this devil is a liar. Okay, scripture say, for the wicked is estranged from the womb. As soon as they be born, they speak lies. So you can never believe what this devil's talking about. You know, we've been putting our hard-earned money and getting raped in taxes basically for years just to pay for these devils' agendas and their technologies. Because how else are they going to be able to pay these scientists and things like that to do it? You know, we know that they can just print money all day long, but that's not the fact of the matter, man. If that was the point, then shit, we'd be good. Everybody just be printing out all types of money. We'd be buying our own printing machines, you know, but that's not how it works. You know, they basically have taken, you got to watch that movie. It's called Zeitgeist. I believe it's called Adamans. There's about 5 different ones, but Adamans is the one about the Federal Reserve. And it teaches you how that all they do is tell you magically you have $2 million in your bank, you know, a wire transaction, but in all reality, it's really not there. But you get that loan for you to open that company, and then that company goes and gets workers, and then the workers that go and work for those companies, their money is what becomes their money, you see, to pay you with. Okay, that's why you'll end up paying interest in certain things, you know, because the money that becomes the interest money, it becomes it's actually used for them to pay whatever they have to pay off, you know. So at the end of the day, they're not printing money like we think they are. You know, it's just the same old fiat currency, the same old money that's just circulating in one big circle, you know. Banks is using your money that you deposit in the bank, you know, to pay off the next person. And then in that person's money, when he gives it back, then they pay off the next person. And that's why they always tell you to wait 10 days, 10 business days, 15 business days, you know, because it's all part of their scheme, their scams, you see.
Things that are, you know, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Kenya is in serious trouble. Now, for you to accept this, that means you're going to be completely surveilled and controlled. Think about it. So they have targeted the new babies, of course, even the ordinary citizens, the grown-ups, the young ones, the teenagers, and even the elderly ones will receive this digital ID. But they will then create a new generation where they'll be completely under this digital ID and they have no choice. I just told you in a very nice way. Now, let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper.
Oh, my bad. They already passed. That was the end of that video. Okay. Girl, you gotta close this door. All right. So I got a whole bunch of them, but I'll just grab one more, and Lord willing, I'll do another lesson later on the update of more. You see.
Purely a digital concentration camp. This is slavery system.
When Catherine Austin Fitts talks, we should.
It says how digital ID will bring a totalitarian era. You will be made a slave. All right. And we're already slaves in this place, man. Let's grab that real quick. This is Baruch 3:8. But see, now you're going to be made an actual digital slave. Okay, with an actual stamp. See, right now, for a while, we were slaves, but not stamped yet. You see, we were just stamped with, birth certificates, social security cards. Okay, but see, this time you're going to be completely stamped physically. Okay, this is Baruch 3:8. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, our power. You see? So, this is all for reproach and a curse, man, because we have, turned our backs on the Heavenly Father. Okay? So let's go back to that.
Purely a digital concentration camp. This is slavery system.
When Catherine Austin Fitts talks, we should listen. She's a former high-level investment banker in New York and held senior office in the first Bush administration in Washington.
There may be 1,000 models of how it could work, but essentially you will have, whether it's a banking account or a credit card, and it can be turned off and on. So my incentive system is not you go to work and work hard and you get money. My incentive system can be based on how you behaved in the last 5 minutes, on a 24/7 basis.
CBDCs, as the name suggests, would be issued by central banks like the Federal Reserve in America and the Bank of England, not by high street banks. They would signal the end of cash, and every transaction you make would be transparent and held on a permanent database. Crucially, under a net zero regime, your carbon footprint could be at the heart of the system.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
This can be the infrastructure for a carbon credit system. It's totalitarian control, and if people don't become aware of it now, it's going to be too late to backtrack from this. It's a ratchet system where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to backtrack.
Purely a digital concentration camp. This is slavery system.
You see?
Purely.
There's no way around it, man. They just want total control, this devil. That's all he wants is total control of you, man. All right, because Jake always trying to figure a loophole,
There's some alarming news coming up.
Let's grab.
There's some
one
alarming
more.
News coming out of.
Yeah, let me grab this one.
This is no longer about us, honestly. I think it's too late, but it's about our generations to come, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. There is a company called Cognify. If you Google it and watch their video, and it's the future of incarceration, is what it's titled. With this Cognify system, let's say you do a crime, or maybe you act out against the government, or you have a belief system that is not consistent with the country that you live in, and you are prosecuted for a crime by their definition. You will then get an opportunity to choose. Let's just use this for hypothetical, a measly petty theft. You can spend 50 years in prison, or you can go through the Cognify process, which in 3 minutes, they will imprint memory sets. So let's say there was someone who was even harmed by the crime that you did. You will be able to feel the emotions of your victim, the emotions that the family members went through, all of that. You will be forced to have the empathy, and you will feel like you've been imprisoned for 25 years or whatever it may be, but it's only 3 minutes.
This is Black Mirror type stuff.
Yes, so it's only 3 3 minutes. And I'm not joking. You watch it and it will just blow you away. But remember, they say this is for the goodness of society. Okay. Would you trust your government with your memory sets?
Are you not entertained?
I've been saying it for a while. If you ain't never seen that movie Chappie, go watch that movie Chappie. You know, that's the type of shit that they've been trying to do for a while, you know, to the point where even if you die, they're able to, you know, take your thoughts, all right, and put them onto a USB, man, and then download it onto a cyborg, man, a computer, you know, and basically have your thoughts and your memories forever. You know, that's why it tells you in when you go into that word MARK in Revelation 13 and 16, it goes into what? Charagma, then it goes into Charax, and then it goes into grapho. That word grapho goes into one of the definitions is that things not to be forgotten, you see, to record, okay? So these devils want to record every single one of your thoughts, all right, and keep them forever, you see, to the point where they can get basically the name of Israel out of remembrance by depopulating every single one of them, all right, and getting them out of here, all right, and then just still keeping your thoughts, the thoughts of Israelite men, you know, and women, because we're the salt of the earth. We're the former, like the scriptures say, Jacob is the former of all things. So everything starts with us, man, and everything that is, you know, the smarts of this society, all right, comes from our people at the end of the day. You know, that's why they've been asking your ass since you was a kid, what do you want for the future? You know, write it down on a piece of paper. What are your thoughts? And the whole time, you see, Edomites and these other nations, they didn't have good answers. They didn't have good thoughts, but they seen the thoughts of Jake, you see, and they leaned off of our thoughts and, you know, made these things come to life, you know. So this is why this devil got to go, man. He's just doing some complete wickedness of trying to play the role of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, all right, which goes to what? 2 Thessalonians 2 and 4, all right. Let me just read that for edification's sake, all right, and I'll close out. This is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 4, and it says, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, all right, or that is worshipped, and that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to worship him, you see, because he didn't have the skills to worship the Lord, going all the way back, you know, to Cain, okay. He didn't have no type of, remember, Psalms 10 tells you that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is not in all his thoughts, man. All right. So he doesn't have that God gene the way we have that God gene. All right. Being able to, you know, pray and believe in our power. He doesn't have faith. That's not instilled in his mind. All right. It says, or that is worship, so that he as power sitteth in the temple of Yahweh. All right, showing himself that he is God. You see that he is power. He's trying to throw it in the Lord's face with all this different type of technology. You know, the Lord will judge you. You come out with 2 broken arms, all right, 2 missing arms. But here it is. This devil will say, oh, well, I'll put 2 arms in you. You know, here, you can do your push-ups today. Okay. That's wicked as hell because you're playing the role of the Lord, man. The Lord judged them and left them like that for a reason. And you have to, you know, you have to eat that up when things like that happen. Okay. You're really supposed to sit there and understand it and realize why, you know, and basically ask for forgiveness. But this devil, you know, leave it up to him. He does some wickedness with it, man. All right. Let's leave it with this. Revelations 13. All right. And 16, because that reminded me of it when they were showing all those people in prison. All right, showing you that this scripture is heavy, man. And he calls it all, both small and great. All right, from the littlest ones, the babies, you know, to the oldest. Okay, to the oldest person on planet Earth. You could be 100 years old getting the damn RFID installed in you, man. We just seen the video of them trying to bring newborn babies, and they're gonna implant something in them. So they're small, right? The rich and the poor, you know, showing you there's going to be 2 classifications. Ain't going to be no more, you know, middle class. You know, you either going to be broke out here in this society or you're going to be rich. The only way you can make it to being rich is by you bound down to the system. All right. Going to going back to, let me grab that real quick. This is Matthew, all right, 4, okay? And let's take it from the top. It says, then Yahushua led up of the spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, okay? And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the son of Yahweh, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh. Then the devil taketh him. See, this is what this devil does. Then the devil taketh him up into a holy city and sitteth him on the pinnacle of the temple and saith unto him, if thou be the son of Yahweh, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou shalt dash thy foot against a stone. And Yahushua answered unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord Yahweh. Again, the devil taketh him up to exceeding high mountain and showing him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. So he's giving him all these different, just like Satan today will make you sell your soul, man. I'll give you all this fame, all this money in the world. You know, you could rule the world, you know, you could rule empires, part of my empire, you see, and we could rule together, right? And saith unto him, all these things will I give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me, you see? And that's what this devil is going to constantly try to do. If you want to be rich, all right, he's going to make you sell out. He's going to make you sell your soul. That's why it profits you nothing to sell your soul, man. Scriptures say that in Mark 8. All right, let's grab that real quick. Mark 8 and 13, I believe. Where is it at? Definitely knows in the 8th chapter. Yeah, I just grab it like this. What shall it profit a man, KJV? 8 and 36. Salakia. It says, for what? So what? In the King James. So what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? You see, you gain everything, man, but you lose everything on this side, man. That's why these people end up losing their family members. You know, they lose their moral, their morality. You know, lose respect for themselves, do things that are inconvenient to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You see, let's go real quick to 1 Timothy, okay, 6 and 7. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be there content with. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and the snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money, all right? It's not that the money is evil, but the love of money. When you put money before Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, you see, that's showing the love of money is the root of all evil, which some coveted after they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. And that's why you see a lot of these, you know, taking that money back Israelites end up falling away, being wicked as hell, and then start preaching some weirdo shit, you know, because they took that money bag. All right. So let's end that in Revelations 13 and 16. And he calls it all, both small and great, right? Newborns all the way to the oldest. Okay. It says rich and poor. Okay. The ones that are the most rich and the ones that are the poor, showing you there's only going to be 2 classifications. There's going to be no more, you know, middle class. And then it says free and bond. You see, those that are walking around not in prison and those that are in prison are going to end up taking it also. You see, to receive a MARK in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the MARK or the name of the BEAST or the number of his name. For here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right, showing you that it's going to come by the way of an actual man. Okay, it is the number of a man. Okay, and 666 is a common thing that you see everywhere, man. All right, you have nothing but, you know, symbolism being put in front of your eyes. You know, they sit there and they give you the eye. You know, they cover up their eye, their left eye. You know, I mean, their right eye. They give you the little OK sign with 3 6s going like this, you know, covering their eyes with it. You know, all these companies somehow, one way or another, they got 666 in their slogans and their names of their companies. You know, a good perfect example is when you go into Walt Disney's name, man. Walt Disney's name, the way he wrote it in cursive, if you really look at it, there's 3 6s in his name. You see? So that's the symbolism of today, you know, and then everything that's, you know, has a barcode on it today, you know, or a QR code, you know, there's always 3 in the QR code. There's 3 big boxes on the corners. And then on a regular barcode, there's 3 big lines with a bunch of little lines. And those stand out more than anything. And those are representations of 666, you know, and eventually they're going to make you a product of this society, you see, where you're going to have your own barcode and scan. You know, so this is what's coming, and it's coming faster than ever, man. All right. So, hey, Lord willing that you will edify. So, with that being said, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Call Haloim La Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Barakatodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith. Enduring as good soldiers of Yahweh Shai, all right, and your sisters continue to learn in silence, learn from the true men of the Lord, all right, and stay strong. You know, knowledge and wisdom is going to be the stability of our times in these last days. So with that being said, Shalom, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah.